The playability. Does it play well? Is it easy to play? Does the playability suit you? That goes with playability, but very important. 2 is the basic sound quality. So does it draw a nice sound? I mean, that's very important. Some bows just don't draw as nice of a sound. 3 is the inflection. So how much can this bow change the sound? Because it can be a very nice sound, but if it doesn't change always, then it can be not as good of a bow. 4 is spiccato, which I guess goes along with playability, but projection. Key things you need for any orchestra audition or playing any solos. You need projection. So a bow that is bright enough, and spiccato is very important because a bow has to be able to jump. Some bows just don't really want to jump for some reason. Spiccato is just hard or it's uncomfortable. You want to try to avoid those bows if possible. Some people just test the bow and they listen for the basic sound, how it plays, and test the spiccato. You basically can have an idea of the bow in less than 5 minutes. The last factor is obviously price and the condition of the bow. This goes for instruments too. All this actually goes for violins as well. The investment quality, is it a good investment and what's the condition like? Are you able to afford it? Is it a good price? Is it a good deal? Are you buying it for the sound? It's cheap, but it sounds very good, but it's not the famous maker. It's a no-name maker. That can be good. You just know you're buying for that. Or you can buy a famous maker and maybe it sacrifices a little bit on sound or something, but it's going to keep the value and it's only going to go up. So that's an important factor too.
Bows, I think, are riskier investments than violins because the odds that something might happen to a bow are a little bit higher as compared to a violin.
Yes, that's very true. Violins, there's so many parts to a violin that if something breaks a little bit, it's fixable usually, and it doesn't affect the value too much. But a bow is literally a piece of wood. It's a stick and it's bent, but yeah, if something breaks on the bow, it's basically loses all its value. Yeah. The main part of the value of the bow is the stick of the bow and then the frog itself and the button where you turn it. So a bow keeps its value if it has the original frog and button. So if it loses the original, then it loses like half of its value, even if the stick is original. And you can make a frog that can make it sound and play exactly the same, but it loses the value. Bows are definitely very finicky, but I would just make a chart like that. And when you're comparing bows, you could think about which bow satisfies everything as much as possible. Because you're not going to find a perfect bow. Basically doesn't exist unless if you spend a ton of money. Just evaluating and finding something that has most of everything on that as checked. If it's there and you feel good, then you can go ahead and buy it. But it really, you have to think about all these different things and it is overwhelming, but somehow you'll find the bow that will work for you, hopefully.
And I do think that sometimes you don't know exactly what you're looking for. You might have a few ideas in mind. Well, I want something that draws a nice tone and is powerful, and I want a bow that can bounce. But the exact qualities of the bow don't necessarily come out right away until you've played the bow more. Like sometimes when you go to a shop, they'll give you so many bows, and I think it's great to do exactly what you suggested. You could play like the opening of Tchaikovsky, or where you have a few different types of bow strokes, and then you can do some passage like the third movement of Tchaikovsky, for example, or sometimes I like doing part of Waxman at the end where you're doing a lot of stopping. One thing that I like to try with every bow is the beginning of the third movement of Sibelius, because I find that a lot of bows, you can really feel the strength of the stick, the yum, ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. And I've tried some bows where the stick is so wobbly, it's actually kind of difficult to do the stroke well. And I even feel afraid, is this stick going to break on me? And I feel like, okay, this is not a good match for me. If you start out with 20 bows or something like that, if you narrow it down to like 5 or 6 bows that you really like or you're thinking about, then I think it's good to try all different types of repertoire. Because the way that you play Bach, you're using a different bow technique from Mozart / a showpiece or a romantic concerto. I think it's always great to play something at max volume. I think playing a little Mozart's super great. I also think if you're able to try some Debussy or some Fauré, some French music, or like Franck Sonata, you're trying to get like a delicate sound and just float the bow and see how it responds to that. Those are basically the things that I kind of look for. That's how you can kind of test pretty quickly. Maybe it takes 10 or 12 minutes or something, but you can test the whole range of the bow and see how much the sound can vary and how it feels. And
Yeah, you should test everything if you're seriously considering a bow.